perhaps we can start by you telling us a little bit about what you're doing now.
Yes, Jim, I've worked both overseas and in Australia. My profession is as a veterinarian, but I actually haven't practiced as a veterinarian for about 7 years. The joke in our household is when our dog gets sick, he goes to see the vet. I'm currently the Dean of the Faculty of Veterinary and Agricultural Sciences, and before we merged those faculties last year, I was the Dean of the Faculty of Veterinary Science since 2007. So essentially my role for the last 7 years has been governance and administration as both at the faculty and as a member of the University Executive, the University of Melbourne Executive. Before that I was a professor and a graduate student and an assistant professor at the Ohio State University in the United States, and I was there for 20 years.
It's a big change from being an internationally recognised academic to being Warden of Trinity. What's the attraction to you?
Well, from a personal point of view, Jim, and from a personal career point of view, I don't see it as that much of a change, but more as a progression. And what I see from Trinity's perspective is that this is actually a continuation of having strong academic leadership in the Warden's position at Trinity. Just think back, this week we farewelled and celebrated the life of Robin Sharwood, an extraordinary legal scholar, internationally recognised with a huge body of work over several decades. We've recently seen Don Markwell finish up his position at Trinity College and take on numerous leadership positions around the world in education and in government. And just most recently, Andrew McGowan has moved on from the wardenship to being Dean of the Yale Divinity School. So we have a strong history in the college of having academics in this role, and I really don't see myself as any different from that perspective. So my own reasons for being interested in this role, Jim, are really manifold. One, I have a deep affection for Trinity. Clearly I was a resident here from 1976 to 1978. My wife was a resident in 1977 and 1978. And most recently our daughter was a resident from 2012 to 2014. As you know, I've been a member of the college since 2008, and I've maintained a long connection with Trinity. And I've watched sometimes from somewhat of a distance, its growth and taken a lot of pleasure in seeing how it's really become the preeminent college at the University of Melbourne. So I come to Trinity with that sense of an understanding of the history of the place and a sense of an understanding of what Trinity is. But I also come to it and seeing Trinity as having really three pillars at the moment, and they're long-lasting pillars. And one is the Anglican Church and the strong role that Trinity has in the Anglican Church and that the Anglican Church has in the life of Trinity. That's critically important. The other is that it's an immensely successful residential college. I mean, when we look back at the strength of the alumni, when we look at the huge success and the strength of the cultural programs and the sporting programs and the academic programs that come out of Trinity, it's absolutely stunning. And then finally, there's the success over the last 25 years of the Pathway programs, the Trinity Foundation Studies program. And that demonstrates to me the capacity for this college to be innovative and forward-thinking and progressive in a variety of ways, in a number of ways. So I come to Trinity with a sense of the history of the place, and also a really strong sense of where it can be going in the future, because it has those three really strong foundations.
That very much leads to my next question, Ken. We're in a globalised education world these days. How can Trinity be world-class in that?
I think Trinity is a long way along the pathway to being a truly global and internationalised college. We have, 1,800 up to 2,000 pathway students coming into Trinity each year. And all of those are from overseas. That's a huge effort in globalisation, internationalisation. We have international students who are members of the residential college. These are really key indicators of Trinity's capacity to look internationally and globally. And I think a really important decision and a really important discussion that will lead to decisions over the next year, 18 months or whatever, is that we decide what Trinity's role is in the global community, not just in the University of Melbourne community.
So talking about the University of Melbourne, Can we do more with the University of Melbourne?
Oh, absolutely, Jim. I think for so long, Tin Alley has been regarded sort of as the boundary between the colleges, and especially Trinity, because we abut Tin Alley, and the university. We need to encourage the people who walk both ways. Now, we have 300 people who walk both ways every day, and those are being members of the Trinity College, the residential members. And that's wonderful. But in part, they regard themselves, I think, as living in Trinity and taking courses at the University of Melbourne. They're not citizens of the university. Conversely, many of the staff, I'd say almost all of the staff of the University of Melbourne, would not see themselves with the option of being a member or a citizen of Trinity College. And for us to really achieve academic excellence and scholarly excellence and across the broad swathe, we need to engage the academics at the University of Melbourne in Trinity College. I'm not quite sure how we do that, but there are many models around the world that would provide us with some ideas about how to do that. I think if Trinity is to become a leading public voice in some areas, then we will only do so by engaging our colleagues at the University of Melbourne. And what I see is an opportunity where physicists are talking with theologians about life, where biologists are talking with economists about public policy, where medicos are talking with engineers and artists about medicine and engineering and the interactions there. At the University of Melbourne, we're very good at doing very many things. One of the things I don't think we're particularly good at is bringing together those disparate and widely separated disciplines and engaging those people, having those people engage in a conversation. And I see that's an aspect where the colleges have a unique role and a unique opportunity to do that. And in my opinion, and what attracts me to Trinity, is that Trinity is, in my opinion, the college that's best positioned to do that.
How will you carry on the long-standing tradition of Anglican leadership and faith formation?
Jim, clearly the Anglican Church is a key component of Trinity College, and it always has been and always will be, and I have a strong commitment to continuing that and developing and fostering that relationship. Jim, I see the Trinity College Theological School as a really key component of the continuing engagement of Trinity with the Anglican Church and the other way, with the Anglican Church in Trinity College. The Theological School is an independent college of the University of Divinity, and that allows us to have the academic excellence and to foster the academic excellence that then enables the Anglican Church and encourages those really important conversations in the church and about the church.
Talking of Trinity being the best positioned college, do you think Trinity can go back to back in the football?
Oh boy.
I'm sure Alex would have a view on that.
Alex has a view on that, and I've received advice. The Trinity clearly walked all over St Kilda's. What was it, 93 to 33 last year? It was wonderful. We had 9 years of wins in the rugby, lost to Ormond, but won again in 2013, won again last year. The girls were the runners-up in the women's football last year. The year before, when my daughter was the captain, I might add, they were winners and they were the champions. And it just goes on and on with the hockey, the swimming, the volleyball. Sport is an integral part of the college and really important. But also integral is the choir and the musicals and the jazz and the multiple other things that we do to create a community. Sport is fundamental to a community because it encourages engagement, just as participation in the choir encourages engagement in a community and a development of a sense of purpose and a sense of place. Critical. Those were not just about academics. It's, as you know, it's clearly stated in the strategic plan and on the website for Trinity. We really are about creating a well-rounded individual.